Live.
Hey there.
Oh, okay.
We're live.
That was fast.
No countdowns tonight.
All right, that's okay. We can do that.
We're free balling it tonight.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But I'm Jonathan Mills.
I'm Chance Ramsdell.
Here we are on Misunderstanding Millennials, where we hope to help you understand millennial culture a little bit better. Millennials fall in between the ages or the years of 1980s to 1990s, meaning the next generation is now coming to age. And the world's always been changing, always will be, whether people like it or not. And we're here for those who want to help understand a little bit better. Chance, how you doing tonight?
I'm all right.
You're all right.
I'm all right.
Okay. Something's
How about
wrong.
you?
I'm doing okay.
Okay.
Well, we're off to a rocky start, but it's okay. It's all right. Technical issues happen, but it's cool. So let's just go ahead and get into it. Why not?
All right.
So first off, we want to talk about something that happened on Facebook, because we always talk about this. We always have our Facebook promo that we show on the Star News TV Facebook page twice a week, and you can go and leave your comments there, and we'll look at them and read them on the air, whether or not they're nice or mean. We don't really care.
Nice or naughty.
Yeah, nice or naughty, we'll read them anyway. But we had one comment from this week that we wanted to address that just said, LMAO, dumbest, all caps, dumbest generation, all caps again, ever. Ooh.
Exclamation point.
Ooh, exclamation point and everything. With the haha react on the post and everything.
Oh, man.
And
You think he put that person?
Yes, because I checked, because I just want to make sure.
So he ha-ha'd his own?
No, he ha-ha'd our promo.
Oh, okay. Dang. That's rough.
So I was like, oof, that's tough. So I thanked him. I thanked him for leaving a comment, because we do like comments, whether or not they're positive or negative.
Yep.
And before we go on, I always forget to mention this at the beginning of the show. We're going to get the email up on the screen, millennials47@gmail.com. If you want to send us an email while we're talking and kind of getting into the topic for the night, we'll read it on the air when we get to the point where we can read it. But, of course, we will have the phones open later on. So, anyway, back to our Facebook comment. So I asked the commenter if he could provide an example of, how exactly we are the dumbest generation ever. That's a lot of generations to compete against.
They were cavemen at one point. We're dumber than them.
We're dumber than them, apparently.
Yep.
I'm gonna let it slide. I was like, okay, well, if you could just give me an example of how we're the dumbest generation ever. Well, unfortunately, we have no response to this moment from the commenter.
Yep.
So, I figured maybe what we should do is just go ahead and try to defend ourselves here on the show, because, a lot of people do think that millennials are the dumbest generation ever. Tide Pods and all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah. I love Tide Pods.
So, if anything, and the research we're getting is from the Pew Research Center, we are actually the most educated generation to date, making us, I would say, far from the dumbest.
Ooh.
Far from the dumbest
We got big
generation.
brains.
Yeah, we have big brains.
Big brains.
But, and I'm going to say this because I was telling Chance this before we talked about it. Before someone tries to put words in my mouth, I'm not trying to say that going to college automatically makes you smarter. Because,
Okay.
I know plenty of people who never went to college that are smart. But we're talking about being educated, which,
Education. You
Education.
need education to be educated.
Right. So if we have some statistics here and we have the actual graph that we can put up on the screen, if we're looking at men specifically to start off, from the ages of 21 to 36 that completed at least a bachelor's degree, we can see we also threw in the silent generation with this one, which is the generation before the boomers, for those of you that don't know that. The silent generation, 15% of men ages 21 to 36 completed at least a bachelor's degree. Boomers up to a 22%.
That's a big jump, big jump.
That's a pretty big jump. And then Gen X up to 24, which is not as big of a jump. And then 29.
Heck yeah.
Which is again, as you can see, you can see the graph there that the graph is a steady incline, up to the 29% mark for millennials ages 21 to 36. And I will say this information is from last year.
Yeah.
But
a little dated, but it's still valid.
2018 is not over yet, so we can't,
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting to go ahead and point out that men in the millennial generation are more educated than any other generation so far, or at least these past three. But another interesting thing to look at is we're just talking about men in this first category. Let's take a look at women that fall into that same category, 21 to 36, at least a bachelor's degree completed. The silent generation had 9%, only 9%.
That's rough.
And I just want to make sure I'm looking at my monitor over here. I believe the years for the silent generation is like
1966.
Yeah. So it's pretty. Is it 1966? I can't remember. I think so.
1965.
Yeah.
I'm blind.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I should have written it down, but it's all good. But so it's that's a really really small number, 9% from the age group of 21 to 36. That's huge.
That's a 9 out of 100 women.
Yeah. Boomers have a huge jump. We'll say a huge jump, 11 percentage points to 20%, which is good.
It's pretty good.
But as you can see on the graph over there, we have another jump up to 28%
for Gen X.
For Gen X, which is another huge increase, and then the millennial generation.
Really hit them with it.
We hit that skyrocket moment up to 36%. 36%
compared to 9%.
Right, all the way back in the day for the silent generation.
Back
in the good old days.
Struggle.
Yeah, back in the struggle with only 9%.
Yep.
But 36% is, and I mean, you can also take note that not only can you see the increase for men between the ages of 21 to 36, but also the increase for women is so extremely steep that it's passing the men. So more women these days are actually getting, at least a 4-year degree, level of education in their 21 to 36. So
sick.
That's pretty sick.
Sick nasty.
That's pretty sick. But I think that's important to note that a lot of people kind of write us off as a stupid generation, and I don't want to get too heated because we always talk about this a lot. That everybody likes to call us the
angry.
Everybody likes to call us the Tide Pod generation, which isn't necessarily right.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you can't really deny it. And a lot of people will say that they have this mentality that college is nothing but a hive mind that sort of uses education as a way to change people's viewpoints, and just don't kid yourself, really. Come on. And even if that's what you think, you have to at least commend people for wanting to, complete their degrees and take that time and money to go through college. I think that's definitely a good point. I've been through 4 years looking to do more. You're just now getting your start.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, the both of us want to at least get 4 years done, I think. I think that's safe to say.
I'm trying.
Well,
I was late to my class today, but I'm trying.
You just started out, so I can't really, I can't blame you. You're fresh to the education scene, the further education scene. But I think those numbers are really something that we can't ignore. And, again, like I already said, because I feel like, somebody would want to call me out on that. Just because you go to college doesn't mean you're smarter. But I think most people that would go to college would definitely come out at least a little bit smarter than they would before. I feel like that's kind of...
I think it's kind of given.
I think it's kind of a duh moment. But again, a lot of people kind of write off college as, some sort of hive mind. But, it is what it is.
Yeah, we're not a hive mind. Did we receive an email? Is that what you're looking at right now?
We did receive an email.
All right, then.
All right,
First,
so we're gonna read this
finally,
email.
thank God.
The email says, also, the boomer generation's cost of college tuition was way cheaper than it is today. Chief Keef of the dankest generation, bruh, eat your Tide Pods.
What does that even mean? What did you just send through? What did I just have to look at? Can we get a breakdown of this email? Sorry, but
Well, he's agreeing with us though.
I appreciate that. But Chief Keef of the dankest generation, can you send us another email to explain what that means? Because I'm confused. Jonathan's confused. I appreciate eating Tide Pods because that's a delicacy. Okay, but come on, dude. Really? This is a serious show, brother.
Well, I think it is important to say that the emailer did make a good point here, that the boomer generation's cost of college tuition. Let's be real. The cost of everything was much cheaper back then.
Oh yeah.
College tuition, of course, yeah, but pretty much everything. So that is a good point. We were paying, and I think we spoke about that our last show when we talked about the paid off game show, paying off people's student debt. But yeah. What was it? I think over the course of the past, I want to say 4 years. I don't have those notes from that show. Actually, I probably do. Somewhere in this big pile of notes that I keep laying on my desk. That I believe it was something along the lines of over the past 4 years, the college tuition went up like $3,000 or $4,000 a year on average. The average amount of tuition had gone up about $3,000 or $4,000. So yeah, you definitely make a great point, and I don't think anyone will argue that that things are more expensive now than ever.
Alternative facts. I want to talk about
truth is truth.
Truth is truth.
It is truth.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you, emailer, for that. You do bring up a great point. But yeah, so you know, another thing I want to say, and we're actually going to get into another topic after this coming break. Don't write off the millennial generation as the dumbest ever, because we definitely aren't, and I don't think that's helping anyone by saying that we are the dumbest people ever.
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 But I mean, you know, you have to take note. The youngest people in our generation right now. Well, I guess technically my generation. 'Cause somebody did point out that you're not technically a millennial.
Okay.
He gets it. He gets it. But in the millennial generation, I think the youngest of us are now around like 20 to 22. It depends on who you ask. The dates really aren't set in stone. But you know, a lot of course, that you know, a lot of the people in Gen X and like the Boomer generation have been around a lot longer than we have. So of course they have a lot more life experience. So again, you have to think that, you know, like we say at the beginning of every single one of our shows, you know, the millennial generation is kind of just now coming to age in all senses, because we kind of range from like the mid 30s to the early 20s in age. So
Yeah, what were you doing when you were 20, 24?
Right.
Yeah, what was going on with you?
Yeah, and
in your life?
I think we've said this before, that I think most generations tend to write off the young generation of their time as well. So, but all in all, I feel like I'm rambling by this point. That just don't write us off as the youngest generation. I think that's just a fair thing to ask.
Yeah, we're not dumb.
All around. We're not dumb.
We're not dumb, brother.
We're not. Well, I feel like we're not dumb, but you know, we don't want to speak for any dumb people out there.
I mean, I'm pretty dumb, but I'm not that dumb. You know what I'm saying?
That's all right. That's fair. We'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. Some of us are dumb. Some of us aren't.
But don't, just because some people give you a bad impression of millennials, don't write them all off as dumb. Because my golden number, 80 million of us, some of them might be dumb, some of them might do some stupid things, but definitely not all of them. And I think we'll leave it at that. And
we're
we'll
going to go take this break real quick. This is the Millennial Show, Misunderstanding Millennials. We'll be right back. Peace. See you later.
Are you okay?
Let's get it.
Okay, let's get it.
All right.
Well, welcome back to the Misunderstanding Millennials show. We're here. We just talked about how we're not dumb, which I think is a pretty good argument.
Pretty good stance.
It's a pretty good stance.
It's kind of weird if we were talking about how we were dumb.
Yeah, that is a good point. But sometimes we do. Actually, you kind of just did. A little bit, at least. So, so speak for yourself. Our email is still up on the screen. We'll be opening phone lines probably after this break, if that's what you're looking for. But until now, just send us an email, millennials47@gmail.com. We have one more topic we want to get into. Chance doesn't know the extent of this one because this happened to me last night, and I got to say,
tell me anything about this.
So no, he's going into this blind.
Just like you. Just like you.
Okay, so anyway, what was happening was I was watching some TV last night.
All right.
And I saw a TV commercial that caught my eye, and I felt like I wanted to talk about it.
What channel was this on?
This was on Fox, the local Fox 8.
Local Fox 8.
And again, people who want us to talk about local stuff, this is one for you because we are talking about something somewhat local into the Greensboro-Guilford County area. Local enough to where I'll say it's local. So I actually had wrote on here that unfortunately I wasn't able to find the commercial in question. I tried to record the actual commercial, but I didn't get it.
Sadly.
But as I was walking out of my house to come here today, the commercial was on, and I managed to grab some screencasts with my phone. But anyway, so you know how it is around election time. You know, you'll see all kinds of advertisements and such on television, including those doing a bit of mudslinging towards other candidates. I think it's common, you know, but it kind of happens. I mean, you see it to every candidate, really. But tonight we're going to talk about a commercial firing some shots at Michael Garrett, who is currently running for the District 27 seat in the NC Senate, which covers the Guilford County, Greensboro area.
Okay.
And I just want to go ahead and say this because I feel like again I feel like somebody will say something about it. But you know, we've never spoken to Mr. Garrett ourselves, nor are we sponsored or endorsing anyone. This is simply just kind of an observation to sort of prove a point that we've talked about previously on the show.
God, I wish we sponsored. I wish someone sponsored us.
Vans, we talk about you a lot. Feel free to sponsor.
do.
Feel free to sponsor us.
Right here.
That would be great.
It's on my back.
Anyway, he's 33 years old. He may have previously been 33 years old because I believe the commercial referenced him being 34 now.
Okay.
But which means that he is technically on the front lines of being a millennial. And you know, I'm aware a lot of people don't associate the term millennial with people that are in their 30s, really. You know, you see a lot of people saying, you know, when they talk about millennials, they talk about people in their early 20s, or early to mid 20s, really. Mm-hmm. Younger people that still, in their eyes, are kids. Nobody really looks at 30-year-olds and think, oh, well, they're millennials.
Not
you know,
dirty millennials.
Yeah. But it doesn't matter. Because, you know, if you're part of the generation, you're part of the generation, whether or not you sort of see them as part of the generation. Mm-hmm. Yes, he may be, you know, and, you know, I'm not going to, you know, attest that I know exactly what kind of person he is, but people who are in their 30s do tend to lean more on the acting like Gen X side than they do acting like the younger millennial side, like me, I would say. I mean, that's just personal
An
belief.
example of that is me being on the very, very tip of the Gen Y.
Gen Z.
Gen Z?
Yes. You're Gen Z. I'm millennial.
Okay, Gen Z. And I act like a millennial. So he's the tip of the millennials acting like Gen X.
Because you don't agree with a lot of stuff that your younger Gen Z counterparts do sometimes, such as eating Tide Pods. But
yes.
But anyway, so this commercial in question was a bit of these one of slandering mudslinging commercials, which I mean, you know, again, that's not shocking because you know around election time you see those come up a lot.
Yep.
But the first point that is made in this commercial, really, when I saw this, I had to rewind it, and I was so shocked when I saw this commercial. And here's some screen grabs that actually ended up coming up pretty good, taken with my phone of my TV. So the commercial began by saying that Michael Garrett was a millennial, and
dirty millennial.
So he's 34 years old, as they said in this commercial. He might have had a birthday since then. I'm not totally sure. But this is the beginning of the commercial. Let's take a look at here. This man is 30 in his like early to mid 30s, and we have an image here of a picnic table with it clearly looks like a childish looking book, and some rainbow paper clips, some colored pencils, and some markers.
Okay.
It's like.
Wow.
You have to make sure that you state that he's a millennial. So it's like, how hard are you trying to push the idea that this 30-something...
They should have put a teddy bear right
like
there.
You might as well put some Legos.
Yep.
Like, how hard do you have to try and portray that this man is still a child?
He is but a wee child,
Yeah,
a wee
right.
33-year-old
So when,
child.
and also, and again, unfortunately, I don't have the video of this. I couldn't find it online anywhere, and I couldn't really record it off the TV with my time coming up here. But there's like lullaby music playing in the background during the whole commercial, and that makes it even better because, like, you know, it's they're treating this like 30-year-old man like he's a child just because he falls in the millennial generation. Anyway,
Imagine being 33 years old
and people still perceive you
like,
as
you're a dirty little millennial.
Yeah.
You're a dirty little liberal millennial.
Yeah.
Little libtard. You dirty little libtard.
Yeah, and so
That's
I mean,
a good insult.
Yeah, I mean, they love it. They really that and snowflake. That's the go-to.
Oh, dude.
But so
I've been calling people snowflakes the last 3 days. It's hilarious.
So, and then, you know, if we can go on to the next picture, you know, it started out, and we might have to full screen it so you can see the full thing. It started out by saying, Michael Garrett is a millennial, and he moved back in with his parents to work on his campaign to run for office.
Look how big his thumb is.
Well, that's Photoshop, but
I know.
But let's just take let's just think about this for a minute. You know. It's just like they're trying to portray him because, you know, what's
smiling like a little dirty little millennial.
One of the stereotypes of a millennial is that, you know, they stay at home and, you know, they're basement dwellers. They never get out and get a job or get their own place.
Well, that's true for us.
And well, I mean, that's fair, but we're young, so we haven't made that transition yet. But we're talking about somebody who's in their like early to mid 30s. So it's just like, I believe so. I'm not entirely sure. I don't want to confirm.
Oh, we won't
anything.
say anything. We won't confirm anything.
But,
okay, but keep going.
But you know, you're probably thinking, well, everyone running for office has these commercials come up against them. You know, what's the problem with that? Well, I mean, that's all fine and dandy. You know, it's fine that everybody's kind of having, you know, this mudslinging contest back and forth. But here we have, you know, we've had Charles call and talk to us before about, you know, how come you guys feel like you can't, you know, make any movements or have any progression? And, you know, we say, yes, it's discouraging as a millennial trying to push ideas and everything. It's not impossible, but it is discouraging
to see this.
But I feel like this is the perfect case of what we've been trying to explain for the longest time, that people do not like the idea of millennials trying to push for any type of change.
So this dude's 33 years old, and he's getting flack for that.
And he's getting flack for being 30-something years old.
You tried to run to office. They would have you in diapers, dog.
Oh, yeah.
You'd be in diapers. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd be in the womb.
But and you know, I'll give the credit to the commercial where it deserves it. You know, right after that first point of him moving back in with his parents to work on his campaign, they do bring up some actual points of interest that have to do with his actual campaign. But it's just like, why do we have to open with a comment about being a millennial and living with his parents? Like, what does this have to do with anything? Like, does that discredit somebody that much?
Yeah.
Just because they're, you know, younger and they move into their parents' house because, you know, maybe that might be the, you know, the best move for them at the time.
economically choice.
It's
the smartest economical choice they have.
Right. And like I said, Charles, specifically, I know Charles has called before and said it to us that, you know, that he feels that it's an excuse when we say things such as, you know, oh, well, people will write off millennials right from the get-go just because we're young and they don't think that we're capable of anything. And I feel like that's kind of what's going on here, because they're using millennial to just write him off immediately, you know, because, you know, millennial now is like, I would say it's more of a derogatory term than it is like an actual classification of a generation. Mm-hmm. And so they're using that as more of a, because, you know, a lot of people have this negative connotation that millennials are lazy, don't do anything, they don't know what they're talking about, etc., and all that. So it's, you know, they're trying to, it seems like they're trying to make it out like he's staying with his parents to just like mooch, like people make out that millennials do. You know, they just like mooch off their families and don't go out and get a job and all that. But, you know, I mean, they're basically saying, you know, well, this guy's a millennial, so therefore you don't want him anyway.
Oh yeah, you don't want him. He's just a mooch.
Yeah, like, you know, you hear millennial and you're like, oh, there's darn Tide Pod eaters. You know, they can't be trusted.
Those snowflakes.
And then that connection is immediately made with this guy because of this commercial. Because, you know, I mean, if somebody, and I'll be the first one to say that when somebody talks about being like 30-something years old, the first thing that comes to mind is not the fact that they are also a millennial in the same generation as me. Because I do understand that they're older.
Yeah.
But they are technically of the same generation.
Yeah.
But, you know, they really are using millennial as more of a derogatory term to sort of immediately write him off. And I'm not okay with this. And I mean, you know, it's not like I'm saying, you know, take this commercial off the air, because I can't do that. But I think that this is like such a poor taste in trying to, you know, stops, convince somebody to, maybe not vote for somebody or not support somebody solely for the fact that they're young. And I feel like this is kind of the perfect example of what we've said in the past, talking to Charles and all that, and a lot of people say it's excuses that we say, oh, well, people write off millennials immediately and, therefore they say they're bad just because they're millennials. And I feel like this is a perfect example of this. And, some
And
people...
once again, we're not being an advocate for him.
Right. I'll be honest with you. I can't tell you anything about his stances other than what I saw from this commercial, which I won't state because it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
It's mainly just the fact that I'm not sure who it was that paid for the actual advertisement. If you give me 1 second, I'll look. But it's more so the fact that he is of the millennial generation, and people are immediately writing him off by saying, oh, well, he's a millennial, he moved back in with his parents, trying to just write him off that he's not credible. Mm-hmm. It was paid for by the Carolina Partnership for Reform. I will say it was not endorsed by any candidate, because that's what it says.
Not endorsed by any candidate.
But you get the gist of what I'm saying. So, that's the case with that. I would like to hear what somebody else thinks about, can we really mudsling people that, we've already said that we feel like we don't really have this presence in running for offices and making change because people will immediately write us off. Mm-hmm. People call that excuses, but hey, here's a perfect example of it happening out in the wild and locally.
Oh, right in the wild.
And we do have another email that we'll get to before we have to take this next break. Fellas. Mr. Garrett is old enough to have served in Operation Iraqi Freedom, graduated college, and worked for a substantial amount of time. Regardless, him running now sets a precedent when he's older. He just has to keep trying and not give up. Get that Vans money, your boy Chief Keef. And I don't think I can say this last part, so I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to say it just for safety. But thank you for that.
Hey, you already know.
So, that's a good point. Is they're trying to write him off with this so childish demeanor on this the screen that you're looking at right here with the children's book looking thing, the colored pencils, the markers, and all that, and the lullaby music in the background. They're trying to write him off like he's a child. But again, like the emailer said, he's old enough to have served in Operation Iraqi Freedom, graduated college, and worked for a substantial amount of time. So can we really start writing people off that are that old as...
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Well, we're going to go ahead and go take this break real quick.
You can send us some more emails if you want to, but we will be taking calls next segment.
Yes, we will. We'll be back, hopefully. Depends, really, but we'll try. See ya.
Misunderstanding Millennials.
We got some news for you.
We have some callers, but don't worry, we're going to get to you in a second. We had some breaking news that came in over the break. So we were just talking about this slander ad for Michael Garrett, the 34-year-old millennial who that they tried to make fun of for being a millennial and moving back in with his parents to work on his campaign. So our producer actually looked up the Carolina Partnership for Reform. And I don't know if we can actually get that webpage up through the network on Box and Box, but if we can, great. It's broken? Okay, great.
Yeah, it's broken. It's
but anyway, and if our producer can yell back to us, all right, so his name's Robert Harris, and he's the what of the Carolina Reform? He is the director of the Carolina Partnership for Reform, the group that made this ad against him. He's 37 years old. He's 37 years old making this slander ad for someone who's 34 by starting it out with this, trying to make it look all babyish with colored pencils and a coloring book.
How's that make you feel?
And then makes fun of him being, a millennial who moved back in with his parents when the man himself is a millennial.
How's that make you feel?
And, again, the dates can be, misconstrued sometimes, so... because he's 37, which would place him being born around the year of 1981, which is on the very brink of, teetering between Gen X and millennial. But, like, what? Like, I just find it very hilarious that this Robert Harris guy, who's the director of the Carolina Partnership for Reform, 37 years old, and making a slanderous attack to a candidate that is 34 years old and also a millennial by calling him a millennial. Yep. When that is also what he is. So,
whack.
Whack. Whack. Robert, you got some explaining to do, buddy. All right, we'll go ahead and get into some calls.
We got some callers. Hi, caller, you're on there.
Hi. Guys, I guess you're right when you say that millennials are smart, but what comes into play is what happened to common sense?
I feel like that could be said about any generation, really, because we talked about it before, but and we talked about it a little bit earlier that back in the day when Gen X was kind of in their age range, in their early 20s too, I feel that they probably had this kind of same idea about the young Gen X generation as well. Partying and not doing what they're supposed to, but
listening to rock and roll
and smoking weed and stuff. But I feel like that kind of happens with every generation when they're in their young stages. But that's just me.
That's true. But just like the millennials, the older ones, like the one you had on screen a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
They're kind of in charge of the ones under them per se. The others are retired or whatever, but they don't have the, let's say, the wisdom as I think some of the other generations, because they're so tied up in electronics and computers and stuff, that's fine. But when it comes fight and flight time, they're standing there looking around like where to go and what to do. I think the older generation has the knowledge and the wisdom and the common sense of getting out of the rain or what to do.
Can you give
how to think on the fly?
Can you? I'm just asking. Can you give me an example of a older stage millennial not being able to lead and not having the common sense to be able to lead?
Well, what sense does it make for all of them to get around the Silent Sam and dragging him down like that instead of going through legal terms of getting it? That right there just shows ignorance to me. As far as breaking the law and gathering up and doing something like that. And it's that much foolish for the older generation to let them get away with it, too.
Oh, yeah, and I totally agree with you. I actually wanted to use this topic, but I kind of wanted to let it sort of, have its time so that
marinate.
we could, let it kind of see what came out of it after the statue coming down. But I totally agree with you. I 100% think that was, a horrible thing for them to do. I defend them in no way. I won't say that I agree with every statue of that nature being up, but pulling it down like that, definitely not the correct thing to do. But I am surprised at how many people kind of just let it happen. So,
and I think it has a lot to do with the common sense and wisdom. If I think a lot of people were based in churches now, not to say that I'm choosing one church over the other, but the church is basically the foundation of our government and our nation, of how it's been formed and run. That's the basics of all laws, just about. And nobody has that foundation in their upbringing nowadays. Well, I'm not saying nobody. A lot of people, a lot of kids, they don't go to church or think nothing of it. And I think they need a little bit of that to help build that foundation on how to live their life, or what, to pick right and wrong decisions on getting older.
Right. I mean, I want to say I definitely agree with you that, common sense, I definitely think common sense is something that comes with age. Of course, our generation is sort of coming to this now adulthood with our youngest members of the generation. And yeah, common sense is something that's going to come with age, but I feel like the general ideas of the morals of society are still kind of intact. I don't think anybody has any, qualms with that, but I mean,
you gave a good example.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you. And I'm actually glad you brought up that topic, because I feel like that's probably something we will try to save on to for next week when that kind of comes to a conclusion.
I do believe common sense is a main thing, because I don't care how much book sense you have. If you don't know what to do with that book sense, that's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
thank you so much for that call.
Thank you so much for that call, yeah. Sorry.
we have an email, I guess, addressing one of our other emailers. It just says, shout out to Chief Keef, bang bang 300.
Don't start this.
Thank you.
Don't start this.
Now we can take a call.
All right, don't start this. Hi, caller, you're on there.
Yes. I'm enjoying your program.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask you a couple of questions here.
Sure.
Who gave y'all that show, and who is signing your check and paying y'all to do that show?
Who is paying us to do the show?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we're both employees of Charles Rourke at Star News. Yeah. We not only do we do the show, we both work here for Star News.
I produce every day.
This show is not like our only thing that we do here. This show is actually something that was formed at the request of Charles. And if you saw the buzz a couple days ago, he actually, which I never knew this myself, that he kind of did this show and wanted us to do it as more of an experiment to see where we would go with it.
Yep.
Well, next question.
Mm-hmm.
I watched him on the buzz. He says he don't have anything to do with your show.
He doesn't have any influence on our topics that we choose, or he doesn't have any influence on the days that we can't do it. Like, we're not required to do the show.
Right.
We don't want to.
If we have an issue where scheduling is a conflict and we can't do the show,
we'll
it's
just
not
throw
a problem.
another one in. But he was the one who, I don't want to say inspired us to do it.
He came up with the idea for the show.
Yeah.
But actually, I'm glad you mentioned that as well, because he did say on the buzz that he doesn't think of himself as our boss.
Yeah.
Or that he is our boss. And I've never thought of that.
Which I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
But he's the one that signs your check and pays you.
Yes,
yeah,
he does.
Yeah, we are technically employed by him and Star News, yes.
Well, that's a little confusing, because he said the other day on the buzz he don't have anything to do with it.
Well, I think what he means by that is...
I'm inquiring.
Yeah, I think what he means by that is that he has no influence to what we talk about, what we do on the show, or what we do with the show.
It's our show, but he funds it, kind of?
Pretty much what he did is he gave us an hour time slot to just do whatever we want to do.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Well, I watched y'all a couple of 2 or 3 weeks ago, and Jonathan, you said something about, y'all was talking about history in high school, and if I'm not mistaken, because I called in on Ken's show the other night.
Yeah, I remember. I was producing it.
About that, and I thought that you said that y'all in high school now that they didn't teach history anymore.
Okay, they teach history. What we were discussing on that show was our education on the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and stuff like that, and if we read through the whole Constitution or not, which we don't. We just go over the basic amendments in high school nowadays. But no, they still teach history.
They don't teach you real absolute history. The only thing they teach is about the Constitution.
Oh no,
Oh,
we
no.
we learn wars, dates.
Yeah.
We learn
About
like Native
slavery
Americans.
and
Yeah, we learn all about that.
It's essentially learning sort of a baseline, beginning to current day of history, but the Constitution is not focused on to the point of where we're reading the entire thing.
Yeah, we learn history. History
Yeah.
is there are multiple
in
history
other
classes.
words, what I'm asking you is, did they teach y'all as far as back history from like George Washington on up?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
do. We learn history from the Neolithic era and up. We learn history from cavemen's and up until
Yeah, but I mean, there's different courses that
now.
are sort of just like American history,
Yeah.
world history.
Actually have a history book you
yes, we
read
do.
out of now?
Yeah, I have one in my car right now. Actually, I'm taking a humanities course in college right now.
Who publishes that book? What exactly and who is publishing the book?
I'm not.
Or taught out of?
I'm not exactly sure who the publisher is. I know that usually, since North Carolina doesn't have the greatest education funding, the books are usually dated somewhat to where these books are end around the beginning of the Obama administration. But
That's what I'm getting at.
but
There you go. You hit the right spot right there. That's what I'm leading up to.
that's where it ends right
The
now.
only thing they teach y'all now is about what's going on with the black people and the white people.
That's not true.
I
White
disagree
people, the
completely.
white Anglo-Saxon people now are being put down just like the Civil War monuments. History
That's
is being destroyed right now by millennials like you two right there sitting there on that screen.
sorry. I said that the history book ends.
It ends right before the Obama administration, right?
Yeah, it ends like when Obama got elected.
Okay, yeah.
We didn't take white out the pages before the Obama administration. We learned what comes up to
Yeah,
then.
I would definitely say that it does not like go in any sort of favor like that.
There
to
is
anything.
no bias
definitely
in
not.
history books. I promise.
I beg to differ, and I think that it's a mockery.
Okay.
People, Civil War people, generals, real important people, are being torn down all over the United States, not just in the state of North Carolina, but the whole state, ripping history out of the books by you millennials like you. I'm not saying you in particular, but your people in your category. It's being ripped down, and it's being got by with because of the way that y'all are being taught in school. And y'all are eating it up like it was ice cream.
I mean,
And you're doing nothing but destroying your own self.
All right. Well,
yeah.
the truth is the truth, brother.
Yeah,
I
I
guess.
mean, thank you so much for that call. I mean, I guess we can agree to disagree on that one because I definitely don't think that has anything.
I absolutely disagree with you.
Okay. Well.
All right. Well, it's still whether or not we agree or disagree. I thank you for the call so much.
Hey,
But
Sorry, didn't mean to hang up on you like
again,
that.
I feel I definitely. I mean, I haven't taken a history course in probably about. I was in college for 4 years and then in high school. So I haven't taken a history course in probably about 5 or 6 years. So.
Well, I've taken a history course every single year for the last 4 years, including AP U.S. history, and I promise no one is ripping it up. And if you want to, you can go look up the books and read them yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say if that's a concern, look at the books.
There's a bunch of Civil War history in books, and it's not biased whatsoever.
And again, just because we're millennials, a lot of people need to understand, just because we're millennials doesn't mean that we condone people going down and ripping down statues and vandalizing and all that.
Yeah.
I think that's really where we can end it at, so we can go ahead and take another call.
All right, we're going to hit a quick break real quick.
break.
We'll be back. I know we got a bunch of callers, but we'll see you in just a second. Think about that history thing. I don't know. See ya. Peace. What's up?
We have like a whopping 4 minutes to go. So if you're on the line and we take your call, we're just going to ask that it please be quick so we can get through them all.
Super quick. All right. Hi, caller. You're on there. Hello?
Caller, you there?
Never mind. All right.
All right.
Hi, caller. You're on there.
Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey,
What's
how's
up?
it going?
Let's talk about something that I talked with you guys last week, and I was the one who asked about the Constitution, and we talked about several subjects.
Yeah, you were the guy we were talking to that he got confused about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. And,
Okay.
and you did answer him correctly that you did receive education as far as history, but you guys did not study the Constitution.
Not fully.
Not in full depth. For
Not in
sure.
full depth, yeah.
Right. But let's go to education. You made a comment again to show that millennials were more educated. Well, it's another way to look at that. Education can nowadays is more indoctrination. And it's not your guys' fault or the millennials or your generation's fault. It's the fault of the school systems. We have educators that have agendas.
Yeah, they do.
And I'm sure you see it. You're not. And let's just do away with the word dumb and use less intelligent or ignorant to the fact or whatever. Be a little more intelligent about that term. But I feel that my age group, and I told you guys I was over in my 50s. We had a more quality education.
Okay.
There were things that were taught that were basics. Now, I can go out and do several different kinds of work, either use my hands or my head. Doesn't matter. I have that ability. Critical thinking. Now, and I know you guys are in school and trying to better yourself, and I applaud yourself for that. I applaud you for that. But let me say this. You are lucky that you have technology in the palm of your hand that is equivalent to millions of books.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you would have to say there is no reason for a person living in these times with the available technology for people to be ignorant of basically any topic. Would you agree?
Oh, yes, I totally agree. I think a lot of people do kind of see the technology and like they don't utilize it as much as other people would.
And also, people going to college now and being educated now are working towards specialized degrees, like it's not so broad education anymore as it is to I'm working for this job.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it's like, you see them whining about having to pay back college debt
Yeah.
when they're going for liberal arts. Well,
Yeah.
then go out and get you a profession that you can make a living at and where you're actually useful. Because if you're in a position that you're useful, like a nurse, they're always needed.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
A person in liberal arts is not needed. When the economy drops, they're not needed. And so what I'm saying is let's educate yourself. You can continue to educate yourself, not just going to a public school or private school or whatever. Continue to educate yourself. Learn about, and I know you guys mentioned that you were atheist and agnostic. Educate yourself about religious beliefs, because the guy earlier, he did mention we do get our laws from the Ten Commandments, and some people will go back to Hammurabi's code.
Yeah.
There are multiple stages, Sumerian, you can go back, but most of them are based on religious type codes. And you have to agree that those laws, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, are beneficial to society, wouldn't you?
Oh, of course. I would say that they're definitely beneficial to society as like just a morality standard, but I don't think just because they come from a religious context that we should ultimately fall back on religion for that.
And also, I think that people before Christianity was established knew that murder could come with a penalty and like stuff like that.
I don't think before those religious laws came around that it was just utter chaos.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I think that sort of moral codes still exist.
Really studied theology.
Yeah, I actually studied Christianity for probably like 10 or 12 years.
Yeah,
And
he went
You found
to.
it not to be viable.
No, I didn't find it to be, for me at least. I mean, again, I have no problem with anybody who does find that to be what they believe
Well-
in, but
Well-
and that's cool. You'll find your own way, hopefully, sooner or later.
Well-
Hopefully sooner than later. And even Albert Einstein, you have to agree, is one of the greatest scientific minds
Well-
ever has been.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm
And
sorry,
Nikola Tesla
caller.
as well.
Caller, we're out of time.
unfortunately, we got to go.
Sorry, I apologize. We
if
really
would-
do not mean to cut
If
you
you
off.
could send it to us in an
What I would
email.
like to say is I challenge you guys to learn more about socialism, communism, and our constitutional republic, and also definitely
Okay.
religion, and learn about it before you make any final judgment.
All right,
All
we'll
right.
do, caller.
Thank you, caller.
All right,
we got to
we're
go.
done. Sorry, caller, we can't pick up. We got to go. We're out of here. Bye.
Misunderstanding Millennials, Facebook, YouTube. Subscribe, like us.
Catch you next
See
Thursday.
week,
See ya.
7 p.m.